Hi, welcome to my shop. As a woodworker, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing two pieces of wood come together in a tight-fitting, accurate dovetail or mortise and tenon joint. In order to be successful, you have to plan the joint and clearly mark the cut locations on the workpiece. A marking gauge is a fantastic tool for this task. Unlike a pencil, with a marking gauge, it's much easier to make repeatable, accurate marks on the workpiece. In addition, the clear scribe line left by the marking gauge helps prevent tear out and provides a place to register the tip of the chisel, resulting in fewer mistakes and a cleaner looking joint. Today, I make my own wheel-style marking gauge. I'm using free machining brass for the body of the marking gauge and 3/8" drill rod for the shaft. I'm using a Wood River commercial marking gauge blade. I start by cutting off a piece of 2" diameter brass and face both ends. Once the outside of the marking gauge body has been machined, it's going to be difficult to hold, so I need to drill and tap the hole for the thumb screw first. Before heading back to the lathe, I mark the location where I need to drill the hole for the shaft. The hole for the shaft needs to be drilled 3/8 of an inch off center, so I switch to the 4-jaw chuck. The location of this hole is not super critical, so I dial it in by eye using the tailstock and the mark that I made. I'm aiming for a close sliding fit, so I drill the hole slightly undersized and then ream it to final dimension. Now I don't have the right size reamer, so I made this one out of the same drill rod that the shaft was cut from. I learned how to make this reamer from Chris over at Clickspring. I'll leave a link in the description. The shop-made reamer performed better than I expected. The fit came out perfect and the surface finish is excellent. Thanks, Chris. I make a small counterbore for the blade of the marking gauge to recess into. I'm getting to the phase in the build where it will become difficult to hold on to the part, so I switch back to the 3-jaw chuck and prepare a superglue chuck. In addition to the superglue, I decided to add a small shaft to help prevent the part from moving. In order to machine the lower radius, I'm using this form tool, which has been ground to a 5/8" radius. For the outer radius, I ground the form tool to a 5/16 inch radius. The part is gradually heated with a propane torch to help break the bond of the superglue. Then after a few minutes on the buffing wheel, this part is done. Next, I move on to the shaft. First, I face both ends to length. After that, I drill and tap one end to receive a 1/4 inch machine screw. Finally, I machine a small counterbore to match the geometry of the commercial marking gauge blade. And lastly, I move on to the thumb screw. I start with a shallow cleanup pass and then get set up for knurling. I use a die to cut the threads, and then I part off the part. I use some hand files to remove the small stem that was left over from parting off. And with that, the marking gauge is done. I'm really happy with the way the marking gauge came out. It's easy to set up, and it feels really good in the hand. One advantage of this type of marking gauge is that it can be used to trim up close to a shoulder, or even down on the bottom of a stopped mortise, making it more versatile than most pen-style marking gauges. I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of this tool, and I can't wait to use it on my upcoming woodworking projects. If you like this video and you want to see more content like it, please like and subscribe. Thanks for stopping in. I'll see you on the next video.